Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry we are running a bit late, but we're here now and we're super excited to be here. By introduction, I'm Lehlohonolo Mokoena. I'm a Salesforce software developer as well as the Women in Tech South Africa Program Manager for Education. I'm not alone. Today I have Teko Ntimane. She is a data analyst and she's also the program manager for outreach and engagement here at Women in Tech South Africa. So our goal as an organization, first things first, we're a nonprofit organization, and our goal is to empower 5 million women and girls by encouraging them to embrace technology. And another one of our goals is to close the digital divide. And this is something quite similar to the guest that we have today. One of her passions and one of her goals in life is to encourage more women and girls to join into STEM careers. And so that's basically what our conversation is about today, but specifically about data and analytics. So here today, we've got Nozipho Duma. Thank you so much for joining us, Nozipho. And she will be joining us today to chat to us about her journey in data and analytics, as well as her experience in the field. And she will be giving us a few tips and tricks for those of you who would like to join the career, those of you who want to get your foot in the door, and things alike. So without saying too much, I will allow her to speak more about herself. I'll be handing over to Teko now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nolo, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you so much, Nozipho, for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, ladies. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to our chat. I hope it's interactive, and I hope that the people joining in also enjoy it. So yeah, let's have fun and let's talk a little bit about data analytics and the careers out there, and let's hopefully get more women and girls into this field. So I'm quite passionate about that, as Nolo said. So looking forward.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I mean, just as you were speaking, I could feel the passion through you as you were speaking. So we're very excited to dive into some of the questions that we have. But the first one we have is, who is Nozipho? We just like to know a bit about you, your professional background and experience, as well as some things that you enjoy as well in your personal capacity.
Oh wow, okay, lovely. So I guess maybe a little bit about my professional experience first, then I'll talk a little bit about me. I know I should probably do it the other way around, but let's get the hard stuff first. Um, sure. In terms of professional experience, so I studied computer science or IT at UCT, and I've always been passionate about IT and its ability to just transform societies and people's lives. Even in high school, I was fascinated about it and was my top three choices, actually the top one that I wanted to do. So was quite fortunate to get in and be able to pursue that in Cape Town. I'm actually from Pietermaritzburg in KZN, one of our provinces here in South Africa. So it was also quite nice to leave that province and move outside of KwaZulu-Natal and go to Cape Town and be there for a couple of years. So I did an honors degree there in business science, which mixes up the technical and business components. And I quite like that because it's actually suited me quite well in my career. And so I studied that. And then whilst I was studying, I started doing internship programs, incidentally, because I just liked doing many things and getting involved in many things on campus, as well as, just doing volunteering work. And actually through one of the internships with Accenture, I was teaching students from disadvantaged backgrounds computer literacy. And one of the senior managers there really liked me and was like, hey, we've got this opportunity for an internship for a month and it's during your vacation. So would you be keen to join? And of course, I put up my hand and she said they'll pay a stipend amount, like a little amount of money. So I was like, okay, this could be nice also to go shopping. So I joined that. I did a SAP implementation. And then I also then was like, okay, I can do this again So I did another internship with Foschini Data, so the Foschini Group store, a web application just to update some of the categories there. So already you could tell, in third and fourth year, I was quite ready to enter the business market and start contributing and adding value. So then I started my career in consulting. In fact, Accenture hired me into their business. And in that year, they were only hiring people that they sponsored. So I was quite fortunate to get in and start doing management consulting. And my focus was a lot on system modernization programs. So those are typically, where we take legacy systems with new modernization technologies, marrying the two and implementing quite large scale projects for some of our clients. So yeah, I did a lot of that. Then I moved into banking. And in banking, I did a lot of project management, also IT projects, optimization projects, process improvement projects. So I did a lot of business analysis work in the banking industry as well at the time. And then I left banking completely. I wanted to pursue something different, and I just studied a master's in business management, and a huge leg of it was supply chain. So I was like, it'd be interesting to be in a company or an industry that focuses on supply chain with the tech in it, right? And I joined a global entity, Puma Energy. There, I was there for almost half a decade, loved it, got to travel all over the world, implement, again, system modernization programs, working with teams across all over the world, some of my teams sitting in different continents. So yeah, enjoyed that quite a lot. Met cream of the cream out there of top rated people that I worked with. So that was really quite exciting for me and opened me up a lot in terms of diversity, learnings, experience, and also the network. That's the great thing about this world. It's so open, right? I mean, we talk about LinkedIn, and most of us, we've developed relationships just through a common platform. Then I guess after that, I came back to the bank. They wanted to, or rather, they were busy with the digital transformation program, quite aggressive. Of course, that excited me again because it was pretty new, working with new tech stacks, data scientists, a lot of the data teams across the bank. And an array of projects, right, in the data analytics world. But we'll talk a little bit about that. I've been back with the bank now, I think, for almost 4 years. Did a program management, and then was a data head in a business area that looked after advanced analytics. And now I'm actually looking after group analytics as a program head for FirstRand and the rest of the F&B brands. So that's a little bit about my career. It's been fun. It still is fun. I'm quite passionate about what I do. And then a little bit about me. I'm from KZN. I told you I'm the youngest of three. I've got 2 older brothers. Love them to bits. I love traveling. Traveling is my passion, especially, walking the streets and tasting the food. And, I'm that type of traveler, but I also like luxury every now and then. I guess, what else? I love creating memories. I love meeting up with my friends. I love running. I love boxing. I also like solitude, hikes. Yeah, and then just passionate about things like this. So ladies, thanks a lot. I hope that answered the first question.
That's amazing. It's so great to know how much you've done. And we're so grateful that you're so open and willing to share about yourself, and your journey. And that leads me to my next question. So, when I think of data and analytics and maybe further into data science, right? I think of someone, if I thought of someone in that role, I would think of someone who deals with logic, not much creativity. I think of numbers on a screen and spreadsheets and formulas and all of that, So given the perception of what data and analytics is, what really actually is it?
Oh, and that's such a lovely question. Data scientist is but only one of the fields of focus in data analytics. And maybe we can start a little bit there, and then we'll broaden it to just data analytics and some of the roles and areas there. I guess, I don't think data scientists are exactly as always as how you've described them. I know a lot of people think that. They typically people who can work with a lot of data. They typically understand how to look at that structured or unstructured data and be able to mine it and make sense of it, look at trends, and then be able to create some information out of that data that can help a business with optimization, whether it's now being able to see what's the propensity for you to take up a particular product, what's the propensity for you to actually make a payment on time, how do you behave on your account, how do you, when you travel, Nozi, on these holidays, when do you typically travel? Therefore, what traveling opportunities can we give you? So it's really taking that information, mining it, creating the patterns, and then developing some insight. And that insight can be many things, and it does. You can do that at the corner of your room at home, but in a business context, you really need to lift that up and bring it to the table and help the business, shape and improve some of their business problems and the opportunities. And I guess your role then as the data scientist is to bring that out and really use data and analytics to create and pump value into the value chain. Quite an important role, and of course we know it's a growing role, lots of opportunities out there. So quite excited for youngsters to pursue that. And it's not as difficult as some may think to transition into it, but I think we'll cover a little bit about that. Then data and analytics, if I were to maybe say it in layman's terms, hopefully it will sound like layman's terms, it's really made up of, there's a collection of data, right, before you do anything. And you're collecting this data either inside your organization or inside your own house. You can create anything. I automated my budget spreadsheet many years ago. And I had to create data. I had to collect the data. I had to collect, okay, what's the income? What are the expenses? What are the investments? And then try to, okay, cool. Where do they come from? How much are they? So you're collecting this data from some sources, internal to you or external. So there's work there in the data analytics community to collect and procure that data. And that can be a role in itself, right? When you're getting and moving data, there's a lot of, I would say, data movement roles, ETL roles, data engineering roles. Then once you've collected the data, you have to, because why are you collecting it, right? You must be collecting it to do something with it. So you're collecting it to inform something. So once you've collected it, then you need to start analyzing it. So there's some data analysis that's involved there. That's talking again about these trends. What are we seeing? What's duplicates? Cleaning it, mining it, so that you're not working with garbage in, garbage out. So a lot of effort sits in that space, even for scientists, as much as they sometimes don't like it. But there's a lot of wrangling and forming and sorting this stuff out. Then once you've got to a point of, okay, cool, I can now make sense of this, then you can start creating the trends or the insights on top of that, right? And those can be done in many ways. In this budget example that I did, You can create auto filters. Then you can start looking at trends. Okay, so typically this is how much I pay for gym. This is how much I pay for my helper. This is how much I spend on wine. This is how much I spend on food and travel. And then you can start then managing and creating additional insight. Okay, what do I need to do to save a bit more money here? Or how do I move this money to this money to this other line item? So then that's when you start building the advanced analytics on top of that data. And sometimes you might even start automating some of that because you've now mastered that trend. Then you're going to start creating some, artificial intelligence or an automation script. It's really or something that will actually do the thing for you that you've now mastered at your level. Then I guess after that, you need to show the trend, what's happening. You need to measure it. So you've collected this data, you've analyzed it, you've provided insight, you've added more cooler, advanced analytics onto it. So what? If I can't see it as a business user, or you can't help me improve it and actually take it to action and impact the customer or impact my bottom line, I can't really do much with it. So then it's about, looking at that end-to-end process and putting some reports that we can use to proactively measure and check and do what we need to do. So I would say, that's part and parcel of the value chain. And these items I spoke about, data engineering, I spoke about data analysis, data scientists are the ones that will build these products and automation. You'll have business intelligence folks that will build the tools to actually monitor and report on this. You'll have the data quality and governance people that ensure that data as it moves through that process is of high quality. There are measures, there are checks, security, data security and privacy. Privacy is a very big thing. These are all roles within the data analytics community. So yeah, there's an array of roles, and it's quite exciting that, you don't have to be a particular type of person or have particular roles or degrees to do them. You can transition to these roles as you see fit.
Oh wow, that was beautiful. I mean, as someone who is in the data space, listening to you speak just sounded like music to my ears. So that was wonderful. You said just now actually that you don't really need to worry about transitioning into the data space, and that's actually something that we'd like to unpack a bit more, because I think for some people, when you hear about the data industry, it's like this thing that lives on its own, and it might be daunting, but maybe they would like to join the career. So how does one get into the data industry? Or the specific qualifications or anything that they might need to become a data professional?
Yeah, so I guess in some of these roles there are outlying out so-called degrees or subjects. So things like maths, modeling, computer science, programming, engineering. Those are typically quite preferable if you have some experience in that or some studies in that. But there are so many options out there now. And I mean, I can talk of some of the people we've hired into our business and that I've myself hired and or trained and upskilled that came with certifications, right? You can do a certification, a 6-month certification, 12 months in data science, data analytics. You can, and some of these guys that we hired did that and started doing their own coding and programs, self-teaching themselves. There's so much that's available out there. YouTube, Udemy, job shadowing, some of them without even being paid. These are all ways to build your brand and build your portfolio and build the experience. Obviously, varsity and some of the tertiary education curriculum enforces that. So because we realize that you've gone through that process, we'll understand that you at least bring that experience with you. But if you haven't gone through that process, you can create that process for yourself. And I would also say, something small, find something cool to code. If you maybe find a website and you want to redesign it, there are so many tools on Google on how to build a website. You can take that website and redesign it, and you start then building that up, and then people are creating. There are many influencers out there, some running a lot of stuff on different social media platforms, some still actually using a lot of the web application work as well. So there's many opportunities out there. I mean, my nephew, he's 8, he's learning how to code because he loves it, and he loves Legos, he loves experiencing and building, and he's creative. So at 8 years old, he's learning how to code already. So it's really it's possible for all of us now. I don't think I had that opportunity at 8. I might have, but I didn't have the resources or the know-how that is there. Whereas now, honestly, Google, you will find so much. There are so many people that have tried what you're trying to do. And you can also collaborate with others. So there's open source projects that you can work on and contribute on, and you're going to meet like people like you. And out of that, you could, develop these also cool things. Some of them might come into fruition and be quite admired out there or result in like, good projects. Some of them might not, but it's building that muscle, right? It's putting yourself out there, and it's practicing. So that's what I would encourage.
Thank you so much for that. And, you also mentioned that from the time that you were in high school, you already had a passion for data and analytics. And that makes me think then, at a time where some of us were in high school, there were certain subjects that you were encouraged to take if you wanted to follow a specific path. I remember a time where the subject CAT, or also computer applications technology, we were told that doesn't count for APS points, so don't bother taking it if you want to go into university. So my question really is, are there subjects that you encourage someone who's looking to go into this career path that you think they should take in high school?
I don't know if high schools have something that talks about critical thinking. I know my nephew does extra lessons on just Legos and building Legos. His school offers that. And his school also offers extra problem solving, I would say sessions. I can't remember what the name of it is called. But I'd always encourage someone to take a subject that allows them to think out of the box, to apply themselves and form some judgment in whatever that they're doing. And of course, a lot of those subjects are the ones that some of us don't like, right? Maths, science, engineering, statistics, modeling. Those are critical, but I think creativity and curiosity and innovation, if schools offer that or something similar, I would add those to the list as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love how, as you were speaking, you were touching on both technical skills as well as soft skills. I mean, just now you said things like creativity, being a critical thinker, being able to problem solve. And I think that maybe sometimes in subjects like maths or like stats, we get so overwhelmed because we see numbers, but really, it's not just about learning how to solve for X, right? It's learning how different ways of finding X and different ways of finding the problem. So, just based on what you just said, are there any types of specific soft and hard skills that one might need to enable themselves for success as a data professional?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've covered some of them. I guess maybe one to add also is business knowledge. You can be a really good analyst, scientist, visualizer, whatever that, some of these roles are. But if you don't understand the business that you're in, the business opportunities, the business problems, and the business capabilities and enablements, technologies that are there to support you drive what it is that you're trying to do, you're going to struggle. So it is quite important to entrench yourself and understand that business knowledge. And even if you're not in a business, but you wanting to know how a retail store works. I mean, we all go to retail stores. It's also now asking, how does the value chain in a retail store actually work? Then you'll start unpacking that. That's the curiosity. Oh, okay. They sell products. Someone must make them. We'll either make them here or buy them. So someone must procure them. Someone must keep them somewhere. Some of them must stay an X amount of time because they're perishable. And then someone must get it to the shop. You see how your brain is now starting to actually apply itself. That's critical thinking and actually applying yourself in understanding what that business is about. And then, of course, people must get the product and then it must be sold. And then there's profits and margins and all that stuff. Then you start unpacking and then you start understanding, how does this business actually work, So that's quite exciting. And I think I've always loved that, in whatever it is, that even just my glasses, like how do they make them? Where do they, because these ones, they got a special brand, and it's like, oh, okay, how did who is this guy that made these glasses? Where is he from? Why are they special? So I'll say, yeah, business knowledge, problem solving. Yes, Teko, as you said, that's quite important. So being able to look at something and suggest something. That's why, English and comprehension is also important, because that comprehension part, you read something, then they ask you a question about what you read to test your brain if it can take information in and play it back. And then they add questions to that so that you start thinking, what if this and this happened? In the scenario where this happened, that's also a level of creativity and critical thinking. Reading, I don't know if that's a soft skill, but reading and just acquiring information. We all have 24 hours in a day. Read a little bit about the subjects that you're interested in, the industries that you're interested in, follow some influencers that you like. That's quite important. Some of the other ones, especially that play out in corporate, are the ability to communicate. And what we mean by that is, can we understand what you're saying? Or you speaking, your nice jargon and expensive language? When people talk, especially some of the quants and the analytical people, they can get all, interesting and sexy and talk about stuff. And then some of us, we don't know what you're saying. Yeah. So it's being able to keep things simple, being able to land that message, and being able to take people through the journey with you. Because you're not on this journey alone. You're working with people, and they need to come along with you on the journey. So that's quite important. Another one I'd say is collaborative, working with teams and collaborating with them. It's not just you. You get a better output by creating something with others. And that requires you to share of yourself, to bring yourself into the table and to collaborate. So yeah, I think those are some of them, and I think some of them you've already covered. There's probably more, right?
Yeah, I'm sure the list can just go on and on and on, right? But I really love how, even as you were speaking, you mentioned that there are things, in this role that you do enjoy, which are also critical things that are required or that will enable someone to be successful. Things like knowing the business, understanding, using the data, who exactly is it that you are serving, and how are they going to use the data to answer those questions, being able to communicate and I mean, just as you were speaking, I'd like to think that these are some of the things that you do enjoy about your role as well. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely, because that keeps you on your toes, keeps things interesting. I also just enjoy working with all types of people from across the business. If I just worked with one or two people, I wouldn't like it. So for me, collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. That's me. That's what I love. That's what I'm good at. Yeah, absolutely. You have to enjoy these things and you have to exercise that muscle. So start collaborating at home. I know it's not fun sometimes because you're like, ah, it's my sister, it's my brother. Must I? Do a small project together and see how tough that is. And then,
Yes.
yeah, it exercises the muscle.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nozipho. So you just spoke about what you really enjoy about your job, and then you just kind of touched about, what you might find difficult. Do you mind telling us in the audience what the challenges are that you face currently in your role?
Yeah, so I guess some of them are, you master with experience, and some of them come and sneak up on you again. And then some of these, are things that maybe I've seen in just the folks within corporate and or in data analytics. So I think the one we've kind of uncovered, which is it's always important to clarify what that business problem is or that business opportunity. I think you can go very far down the line and then realize you've answered the wrong question, um, or you've invested time on something without really getting the why. Why? It's the so what. A lot of people don't do that. They'll just come and, we're going to do this cool thing and do this and do this. And then you're like, to do what? So what? What's the so what here? What is that factor that you're bringing? And then it's like, ooh, silence. And, you need to unpack. So that why is quite important. And then, how we're going to do it and what we need. That's also important. So I would just say clarifying the business problem is quite important. And then the other one is probably looking at everything that we do, really. I remember in economics, the economics lecturer asked us on day one, he said, why do businesses exist? And of course, we're like, they exist because we are young. They exist because, we want to change the world. We want to work together, like all these cool ideas. And it's like, yes, all of those are right. But a business exists to make money. That's the far most important thing for it. Any business, including institutions, right? Any business that you actually work in. So understanding those KPIs and metrics around the work that you're doing, what is this contributing to? How does it fit into the value chain? And how can we measure it and actually showcase that, hey, we've done this thing and we're able to now see changes in how customers behave, or we've grown um, people to stop doing this, do this pattern because we're moving towards that. So just understanding those metrics and measurements behind what it is that we do is quite an important one. I mean, I guess this one is fair for most of us, is finding your voice. And finding your voice is also knowing when to keep quiet and listen and hear what others have to say. So that's quite important, just getting that balance. And then in data analytics, the other big one is data storytelling. So what we mean by that is, cool, you've done all this great stuff, you've built this analytical model that is able to predict A, B, C, and D, and it's helped us with this. How do you share that to a CEO? How do you share that even to your mother or your aunt, where they get what it is that you do? So, and that's about storytelling. I mean, if we all, go back as childhood and some of the books we've read and the fairy tales and the storytelling, they paint a picture and that picture stays in your mind. So being able to tell that story and take people through that journey and keep on doing it, because it's not easy. I think that's sure, that's still something I continuously work on as well. Yeah, I'd say those are some of the ones that I'd highlight there, Nolo and Teko.
Yeah, I really love that because personally, I believe that as we go through some of the challenges that we go through them to learn from them and learn how to be better from them as well. So thank you for that, Nozipho. I have a few more questions, not too much, but I would like to know, is there anything that maybe you would have done differently, or looking back at younger you? Is there something that you'd say, hey, look out for this, or you're actually doing pretty good, so don't stress too much? So yeah, is there anything along your career that you might have done differently or told a younger you, just something around those lines?
Oh, beautiful question. I love those questions because they also make us reflect, and hopefully those who are younger and have the time, they can use those to check themselves as well. I think, we are very hard on ourselves, and once we accomplish something, we quickly move on to the next one. So I would have liked my younger self to really sit in some of those accomplishments, whether it's a project, whether it's getting, my master's, the hard work I put in, whether it's, buying my first car, my first house, doing something for your friend, your family. These are big milestones. And these are the things that really impact our day to day in our lives, and helping others also grow into their career, and just marveling at where they are. I would say, take time to also look at that, Nosy, and say, wow, okay, sure, that was great, and continue doing that. So those big, small, they're the big things, but sometimes when we're working and studying, and we forget about them because it's just about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So just taking time to appreciate those achievements and milestones. Continuous learning, absolutely. I've had years where I haven't maybe studied anything or read as much as I would have liked to, or taught, because my dad was a teacher, and one of the things he taught me was that, actually both my parents were teachers. One of the things that he taught me is that when you're a teacher, you actually become better at the thing that you are learning or teaching, if that makes sense. Because if I am telling you about something that I've learned myself, I am learning that thing much better. So that being said, like that's also something that I definitely want to continue to do, is continuous learning, sharing of myself, making myself available. I still do that, mentorship programs, speaking engagements like this. And then, goodness, the youngsters are coming in strong there with their coding and their advanced stuff. So just being able to also have, to work closely with them and then just see their world, and what's happening in their world. I think that's something I would have started doing much sooner, I think, in my career. Um, yeah, I think those are some of the ones. And then just enjoy the journey. You gotta enjoy what you love. And some days are not great. Some tasks as part of your job are not great. But overall, they might be a very small percentage. And also gratitude. I take time to just be thankful for small things like electricity, a roof over my head, food. If you look at our country, especially, not all of us have that. And what else can we do to contribute and help and improve? So those things are important and matter to me.
Thank you so much for that, Nozipho. I can almost see the sparkle in your eyes through my screen when you talk about all of this stuff. It's really amazing. And we've got so many comments from people all over the world, really enjoying your insight on data and analytics. And we've got quite a few questions as well, but I think we'll go through those at a later stage. You did mention that you do mentorship. Do you want to just briefly tell us why you think mentorship is important? Why should we, as maybe young people or people who are in the industry, why do we need the guidance of a mentor?
Sure, that one is, firstly, you have to want that for yourself and try to understand, why do I want a mentor? What do I want to experience, unravel, uncover through a mentorship relationship? I think that's quite important first, that one does that for themselves. And then in terms of, the importance and why we need it, people have walked paths that we haven't walked. And how, that's one of the best places to learn, is to learn from those that have walked those paths and that can help you navigate through them. And mentorship can be in different ways. There's mentorship where, I have my own mentors where I have to see them physically, because it requires a physical engagement. You can have a mentor on particular topics that you can cover online, that you can cover through a WhatsApp call, a support structure, a question, some questions or help. So I think, it's always better, especially if you quite intentional, to formalize that process and perform an agreement between yourself and your mentor. Yeah, and then agree on what it is that you both bring to the table, what you want to see, and put timelines, and then track it like a project, and and reflect on that. I, very important, very, very, very important. But it starts with you. Mentors are not gonna come to you, sadly. I mean, I wish, like, a lot of influencers, global influencers out there in this field would be my mentors. I have to go to them. I have to send the message. I have to say what it is that I want to get out. I have to initiate it. And then, of course, there are programs like, Women in Tech. I was mentoring people through this program as well, because they've created a platform for that, which is beautiful. And then, in your organizations, I'm sure there are platforms there. In varsity, if you as, a first year student, what's stopping you from meeting a third year student who's walked through a similar process that you want, and getting a little bit of mentorship there? That's where it all starts. Yeah, so mentorship is quite key. And as you walk into corporate, you also start requiring sponsors, and they play a more different role in just making sure that you also create your brand and showcase your work in different ways, because they might be able to sit in places where you don't sit, and hear of these assignments or roles or opportunities that they can say, hey, I have someone, Nolo's done this at Salesforce before, she's great, and she did this and this and this. That assignment is something that she could do. Then all of a sudden you're on the list. There's 5 people. You were not going to be there if that person, that sponsor, didn't say your name and put that up. And that's also requires you looking out for those sponsors in corporate.
That is so true. And it speaks back to what you mentioned from the business analyst or the analytics perspective. You mentioned earlier that you need to know your why. And you've just reiterated that with mentorship as well, is that you don't just go there and ask someone to be your mentor. You need to have your why. What do you need help with? So I really enjoyed hearing what you had to say about mentorship. And, there's a statement that's being said that data science and artificial intelligence are going to take over our jobs. It's quite a packed statement. And, someone would think, then why should I go into such a career if computers are going to take over at some point? Do you have any thoughts on that question or that statement?
I think and the world is proving, and we're seeing that machines and humans can work together hand in hand. What we must remember is that a machine is not a human. Machines are not creative, right? They can't paint, they can't form creative, critical thinking. What you can do is feed a machine information of what you want it to do. And typically, AI really what it does is reduces repetitive work and helps create efficiencies. If, for example, all I do is capture something and I know that I'm just capturing someone's, I don't know, ID number, I'm capturing, okay, let me give an example. So when you open an account, we get all your what we call know your customer KYC documents. And we know it's a bank statement, it's an ID, proof of res, and maybe a bank statement. I mean, we know that. We've been knowing that forever. It's part of the requirements for us as a bank to get that information. But imagine the ability or someone doing that, checking, is this an ID document? Is this a bank statement? Is this oh man, that is not nice. And if that's your job day to day, as much as yes, it's creating an opportunity for me to do that. But me doing that for 2 months, 3 years, 5 years, does it make sense? Because I'm sure you yourself would want to perhaps only verify if it is or not, because now you've mastered that it is. So then you can build in rules to tell you, how do you identify that this document is an ID document? How do you identify this is a bank statement? And then here you are, you've created a form of automation and artificial intelligence that takes snippets of that document, puts some rules and checks that you as a human defined, by the way, not the robot. So you still have a role in defining that. And then you have thresholds that you can put to say, if it meets these 4 things out of 10, then take it to the human to verify. If it meets 9 of these things, it probably is an ID document, and go save it in the vault and save it as an ID document. So here we see an example of a human and a machine working together to improve the human's life, actually, because this human now has capacity to work more efficiently, to look to solve for other problems. So it does require us to be, again, critical thinkers, solve the problems that the business needs as it evolves. So I don't think robots are taking over our jobs. I think they are just enhancing some of the repetitive stuff, which makes sense. And we're seeing that in many industries. So yeah, I mean, it is a loaded statement, but there's lots of views around it. So yeah, folks can Google and read and see their own views as well.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I think, like you said, people will have different schools of thoughts, but I think for anyone who's worried, they can, release that sigh of relief to be like, you know what, my job isn't going to be taken within this industry, so they should be fine. So thanks for that. The final question that we have on our side, you mentioned earlier, different ways to learn about data industry or different jobs within the data industry. Spoke about YouTube, Udemy, going the formal tertiary certification route, or even just building projects by yourself. But for someone maybe who has no idea where to start, would you or do you have 1 or 2 resources or platforms that they can go to learn about the data profession or specific skills within the data industry?
Yeah, and it's the ones that you've mentioned. If you go to Udemy and you Google inside Udemy, you just create an account and you're in. They've got multiple free courses that you can do. So you can do, beginners data science, data analytics, and then the nice thing about these platforms is you can see the number of people that have either opened it or done it, and the commentary. You can see the content of that course. It's at your own leisure. It's self-paced. So really all you need is maybe a computer. I mean, obviously a computer and internet connection, and you're good to go. So I would start there. There are many tools or rather resources inside Udemy. The other one, depending where you are in your level as well, like there's a lot of open source opportunities to contribute to building out, particular codes, data products, etc. So there are a lot of open source tools that are out there as well to get involved in projects. The other one could be job shadowing. I think, we spoke about exercising your muscle. You're not going to get into this field by just sitting at home and reading about it and writing a thesis. You have to do something. So another thing that I mentioned earlier is, especially maybe let's say you want to get into coding, find something that you like and just try to code it, and go to Google and say how to code a web application for ordering muffins or something. I mean, we all know how to place an order because most of us have placed an order somewhere, whether it's Uber Eats, whether it's online, whether it's at a shop. We know what those processes are. So then you're like, okay, this is the process. Let me then build this thing. And it might start with a picture. Then it might start with some data on Excel. Then it might start with, okay, I want to code this on HTML. Then, okay, cool. Then get your own access to an HTML container or area where you can actually code, and you start following those instructions. And YouTube's got a lot of stuff. And then the other one that I would add is, even if you Google top data analytics LinkedIn influencers, I've done that. And then they have a whole list, even people who've been awarded. Then you go to LinkedIn and you find them. And guess what? They're posting. Some of them have their own podcasts. Some of them are writing articles. You in. Now you in this mix, you in this language, you in this business. So start with something, but I always say we must stop starting and start finishing. So you must finish as well, not just stop, start, but finish it as well, whatever it is. And then it's not going to be easy, but it can be very enjoyable. I know a partner at Deloitte who was telling me that, it's a lady I spoke with at some conference, and she was telling me, she learned how to code in her 40s. And there she is now running a data and analytics area in Deloitte. So yeah, it's available there.
Yeah, and I love how, as you were speaking, because sometimes I think what makes people scared to join not just the tech industry but any industry is maybe they have to go the tertiary route, which is beneficial, but maybe for whatever reason they aren't able to, and therefore they can't achieve that. But I love in how when you were speaking, you spoke about other resources like open source, like YouTube, but also it really needs to start with the person having the desire, to go approach someone who can enable a platform for them to have access to learn those different types of skills. So, Nozipho, I learned so much just from this session and hearing you speak. I think I can speak for myself and Nolo when I say that we really do need people like you in leadership positions, not just to show us that, there is someone that looks like me that can hold that type of position, but also for the mentorship, for the guidance, for hearing your experience, which will essentially help us when we, make decisions that will carry us along our path. So with that said, thank you so much, Nozipho, for your time. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much. I've had so much fun with the two of you, and I hope that everyone that's watching or will watch will enjoy it. Thank you so much for the opportunity, ladies. I appreciate it.
Yes, definitely. Thanks so much, Nozipho. And yeah, as Nozipho said, thank you so much to all the listeners that were tuning in as well on LinkedIn, on YouTube, wherever it is that you might have been listening in from. If for whatever reason you joined the session late and missed a lot of the gems that Nozipho was dropping, do not worry, this video will be living on YouTube. So just click on the link that was shared for you to join this session, and you can watch this video as you're preparing for work, running errands, whatever it might be. I also want to just quickly take this opportunity to mention the Women in Tech Africa Awards that will be hosted in South Africa on the 23rd of September this year. It is an exciting one where we will be celebrating women that have been innovating, that have been transforming the space as we know it. So make sure that you do follow us on all our social media platforms to stay up to date with what is going to be happening there. The nominations for the awards have closed. However, if you'd like to take part by being at the event, tickets are being sold. So just make sure to follow us at Women in Tech South Africa or Women in Tech SA. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter. Wherever you want to find us, we will probably be there. So head over to those platforms to check out anything that we will be having for the Africa Awards. And again, thank you so much, Nozipho, and to all the listeners and to Nolo as well. And yeah, we wish everyone a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, Nozipho, for your time and your insights. And have a good afternoon, morning, or evening to everyone who joined the chat. Thank you all.